So it appears that a federal grand jury has rejected the Trump administration's latest attempt to indict New York Attorney General Letitia James. This news, as reported by Catherine Furze, comes from a federal grand jury in Norfolk, Virginia, which decided not to move forward with the indictment that was linked to alleged mortgage fraud. This decision came on a Thursday, and it follows a major ruling just 10 days prior when a federal judge dismissed an earlier criminal case. That case fell apart because of the unlawful appointment of none other than Lindsay Halligan, the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. Now, we're getting an update from Abby Lell, Letitia James's lawyer in this criminal case, who actually made sure that original case got tossed out. Lell emphasized that the grand jury's rejection of the indictment is a clear sign that this case never should have commenced in the first place. He pointed out that a federal court already dismissed this case after President Trump appointed Halligan unlawfully to level these baseless charges against James, charges even career prosecutors wouldn't back. Lell made it pretty clear that this should wrap up the matter. If they keep pushing forward despite the court's ruling and the grand jury's decision, it would be quite alarming for our legal system and a serious hit to its integrity. It's worth mentioning that this isn't the first time they've tried to dismiss a case from this falsely appointed U.S. Attorney Halligan. Despite the court's clear message that she's no longer in the game, Halligan seems to be still playing the role of U.S. Attorney. As Lisa Rubin has pointed out, it looks like she's been pretending like it's Halloween and she's in costume. There's even some recent court documentation showing her involvement in another case. And the date on that filing tells the whole story. It's honestly hard to believe how things are going with the legal scene right now. Just take a look at this document dated December 4th, 2025, signed by Lindsay Halligan, the United States Attorney and Special Attorney. She's still putting her name on these pleadings, which is astonishing when you think about it. Seriously, she should stop messing with these cases, especially against people like New York Attorney General Letitia James. Halligan's actions are just muddying the waters for other cases where there really might be some crimes involved. At this point, it's clear she needs to step back. No one wants her around. Just a reminder, this is someone who used to be an insurance lawyer and even a beauty pageant contestant before that. She hasn't exactly built a stellar reputation as a lawyer. And with no prosecutorial experience, this whole situation couldn't have gone more sideways. It's like she's turned her legacy into a complete joke right now, and she's still signing off on pleadings. Can you imagine? On top of that, we've been hearing from Ken Delanian and Carol Lenning over at The Washington Post and MSNBC. They've been doing a bang-up job reporting this week. Delanian mentioned that after this grand jury in Norfolk decided not to indict the New York Attorney General, they're hearing the Justice Department wants to take another shot at it. They're actually thinking about going to different grand juries after the last case got thrown out and now rejected again by a grand jury. It's almost comical when you consider that the old saying goes, a grand jury could indict a ham sandwich. So let's keep that momentum going. During the grand jury proceedings, it was just the prosecutors in the room since the defense and the person facing the indictment weren't present. There wasn't even a judge around. The prosecutors were supposed to keep things ethical, informing the grand jury about their role in finding probable cause. They'd call up witnesses and then ask the grand jury to approve the indictment. In the first round, the only one present was Lindsay Halligan, who wasn't lawfully appointed. Reports have shown that she provided the grand jury with some questionable legal advice, misleading them about the Fifth Amendment rights of James Comey and potentially New York Attorney General Letitia James. She gave incorrect information about the burden of proof, which didn't help her case at all. Even worse, she brought in an FBI agent who couldn't testify because he had been privy to attorney-client privilege information, which made everything tainted from the start. Not only that, but Halligan failed to present the actual operative evidence to the full grand jury. Instead, she just printed out another copy and had the 4 members sign something without showing it to everyone. In a way, it didn't seem to matter because she was unlawfully appointed to begin with. As a result, both cases were dismissed right off the bat. Later on, they decided to refile against Letitia James. As far as we can tell, no new filings have been made against Comey yet, so we'll have to see if the grand jury decides to reject that again. However, they did go back to Norfolk, Virginia today to try to get an indictment against James, but the grand jury turned that down. I came across this interesting scoop that dives into Trump's legal troubles. It's honestly hard to believe how twisted it can get. So, here's the scoop. In a recent court case, the New York Attorney General argued that a U.S. attorney named John Cerrone III wasn't legally appointed. That's right, Trump is claiming that there are all these unlawfully appointed U.S. attorneys throughout the country. Now, to keep it clear, each state has its own district courts, and they can vary a lot. Some smaller states might just have one, while big ones like California have numerous districts. Specifically 4 major ones named Southern, Central, Eastern, and Northern. New York, being on the bigger side, has multiple districts as well, each with its own district court judges. Here's the catch. Each district has a U.S. attorney who should ideally be appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate. There's a bit of a timeline here, too. A U.S. attorney can only be an interim for 120 days. The president gets just one chance to appoint that person for that period. If the federal judges in that district don't extend that interim term, or if they don't go through the confirmation process with the Senate, then that attorney is considered unlawful out of here. It's a one-shot deal, hoping to get that confirmation from the Senate before the clock runs out, and past presidents have always had to play by those same rules, getting their picks confirmed by the Senate. If that doesn't happen, it's time to look for someone new. It's a whole legal jam, and it seems like there's never a dull moment in the courtroom. So here's the deal. When you want to bring someone new into a position, the Senate has to confirm them. That way, they're not just filling in temporarily or acting. You actually get the real deal. This brings us to Lindsay Halligan. The reason her appointment was considered unlawful before is that Trump had already put in place a Republican interim who claimed there wasn't a case against him. I mean, think back to what that career prosecutor Abilo said. No case to work with. So, naturally, Trump fired him and tried to appoint another interim. But here's the kicker. The law only allows for one interim. If you want to check it out, it's in 28 U.S.C. Section 546. Halligan would have been the second interim, and that's a no-go. Now, as for that first interim prosecutor from Virginia, his time was extended, but he still maintained there was no case. Then Trump decided to let him go too. It's kind of a repeat act because, similar to what happened in New York, Trump played the same old routine with John Cerrone, who didn't even have prosecutorial experience. Recently, a federal judge, Laura Chayfield, who was appointed by Obama, suggested she might disqualify Cerrone from being the top federal prosecutor in Albany. If that happens, it would add to the list of failures for the Trump administration in trying to bypass the Senate confirmation process to get U.S. attorneys in place. During some oral arguments, Judge Chayfield seemed ready to not just remove Cerrone from that top role, but also to prevent him from taking on any similar positions. This whole legal mess comes from New York Attorney General Letitia James trying to squash a couple of subpoenas that Cerrone's office issued earlier this year related to some civil cases she's brought against Trump and the National Rifle Association. James is claiming those subpoenas don't hold water because Cerrone was never legally appointed. Cerrone, a Republican lawyer who's tried to land office a few times without success, had quite a rocky start. At one point, he even listed a boarded-up building as his home address on a police affidavit. When his 120-day interim term ended, the judges in the Northern District Federal Court by Albany didn't appoint him to stay on in the job, nor did they pick someone else. So that's it for him. He's out. Goodbye. And that means he can't go issuing those subpoenas pretending to be a proper prosecutor. So let's break down what's happening across the country. In New Jersey, there's this attorney named Alina Habba who tried to pull a fast one, claiming she was the United States attorney for the district court there. But New Jersey is pretty small. It only has one U.S. attorney. And guess what? The federal judge in the Third Circuit told her to take a hike. They were pretty blunt about it, saying, "No one wants you around. Stop pretending you've got this job." It's wild that she was even sanctioned for $1 million in a Trump-related case, because honestly, she just wasn't a good lawyer. Now, shifting gears to New York, we've got Attorney General Letitia James, who recently had a case dismissed. Then there's Lindsay Halligan, another one involved in this mess, and her case wasn't much better. 10 days ago, it just disappeared. But today, the U.S. tried to pick it back up, only to have the grand jury say a firm, "Nope, no indictment here." It seems Trump's Department of Justice is just fumbling around, trying to make something stick, but failing spectacularly. They've labeled these folks as thugs and corrupt individuals, which gives off vibes of desperation. Not a good look at all. Once upon a time, the Department of Justice was something to respect, with good lawyers doing solid work across administrations. But now it's more like a merry band of losers in Trump's world, which has become a theme for him. Today, though, Letitia James can celebrate. The grand jury turned down that indictment. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Don't forget to hit subscribe.